Okay, so here we are with the Crystal Brigade, and today's day is March 30th, 2023. I'm just going to be talking about all kinds of things that Marcel Vogel was trying to teach us. Did you have a question, Nancy? Were you about to
Yeah,
say?
you said in your email we should have a crystal with us.
Yeah, do you have a crystal, a quartz crystal?
Does it matter which one? I've got lots of crystals, but I just picked these two up. Does it matter which one?
I think that left one on that left side one that was big enough.
This one?
Yeah.
Yep. This is thick, but look how lovely this little one is.
Yeah, so what we're going to be doing though is using them. Let me turn off my screensaver because we're going to use them as a tool. And if you have multiple points, it doesn't work as well, because you're going to be trying to discharge the points and everything. I have a fake Vogel, and I don't know if it works, but I brought my handy dandy True Blue. This one,
I would like this one, only this is a little fatter.
It doesn't matter. That'll be fine. If you had one that was micro size, you can actually work it, because I work with all sizes and types, and I test them to see if they will hold a charge of my thoughts. So I have one that I keep wired to a piece of copper that's this copper is already tarnished a bit. And I was telling Derek that I actually use this in my funnel when I pour my water from my glass container into my glass. I'll take a funnel and I'll drop this in and then make sure that the water flows clockwise around this crystal after I've charged it with love and good intentions. And it restructures the water. This is one of the lessons that Marcel Vogel taught.
But actually, we can, according to Dr. Emoto from Japan, you can take a glass of water and say a prayer to it and talk to it until you love it all, and you could help purify the water without putting anything in. So does this help it along, or?
Yeah, so what a crystal does is, let's say you're in a hurry. You got to hurry up and get to work. You got to go somewhere. You can have your crystal already charged as long as you've not had any negative thoughts or any thoughts that are lower, like that dip below a particular frequency. You can just take that crystal, grab it, throw it in the funnel, and instead of trying to sit there and meditate over the water, if you don't have time and all this. So really, everything is about our consciousness. It just shows you the type of power we have. And that's why the world is shifting right now into a new dynamic, is because we're in the Great Awakening, realizing who we truly are, what we can truly do with our voice, our minds, intentions. And this is our world, but the underworld is trying to take over. That is the dark or yin principle of, the earth that we can't see. They're always there, and their primary modus operandi is deception, because they can't do anything else. They usually can't even come above ground because the light is too high of a frequency for them. So they have to have these gray suits, gray alien suits and stuff. And I'm trying to tell people, look, from all of the research that I've done with space aliens and stuff, I've listened to so many different UFO tales. And even my doctor was abducted, and all, different people that I know have had their experiences. Some of the people start talking about how those beings smell like sulfur and how some of them smell like burnt cinnamon, which would be similar to sulfur. Typically a burnt, stinky smell. And there was one person who talked about they got to see the being that was wearing the suit, and they said they're wearing a suit, and those big lenses are covering their eyes. It covers the light, basically, is what I've did. I'm like, oh my gosh, that's basically just preventing the sunlight from coming in. That's why it has to be so dark and black, because they come from a darker world. But they are donning a suit. Who built the suit for them to come fly around and, UFOs and stuff? That's what I think it has something to do with our U.S. government, honestly, that they're allowing them to come up here and do the things that they need to do. And some people have said that they're more like cyborgs and drones and robots and stuff. I don't know. They're like biological robots. Maybe. Because here's another thought to process is, Some of the light beings cannot be in our presence because they're a higher frequency. They would kill us. So what do? If you're of a higher frequency, you go, let me see how we can work this out. What if we create a drone that we imbibe our consciousness with, or a technology, whatever, and they can go down and serve us instead, and to do the goodness that needs to be done that we can't physically do because we don't have the bodies. So I think there's a tug of war between the higher realms above us and the lower realms beneath us. And everybody's always trying to push and pull and tug for dominance to try to help in some way. Like light's helping, the dark isn't. The dark is trying to kill the earth to get to the light realm. They will never be able to do it because they're not of the same frequency. So it's like, how are they going to do it? It'd have to be technology. And I'll tell you, I've lived here in this one location for about 5 years, and I'm watching as the natural world is slowly degrading. The soil outside right now that used to be brown has turned to sand. And I'm like, wow, look at that. It becomes crystalline again. So what are the deserts? You kind of go, this is like a miniature version of what the desert, what happened then, because the deserts aren't natural. But everything turns into crystals when it disappears. This is leaves and biology, all these different plant particles and things, they become dirt. That dirt, when all of the soil biology is gone, it becomes crystalline structures, which is just sand. It's very interesting to, look at it from this perspective and go, okay, that's where sand comes from, is the spiraling death cycle. But anyway, what we're going to do is we're going to go over some information. Now, I'm going to go through a quick PowerPoint presentation over some of the stuff that Marcel Vogel had to say. And then we're going to get in and grab our crystals and learn how to breathe, because that's the modus operandi to use a crystal, is to breathe. And we're going to teach you that method in a moment. And I have actually cured my asthma. I had asthma since about 2006 or so when I moved down to Florida. And I got this asthma. It was an adult onset asthma. It was the weirdest thing, came out of nowhere. And I healed it with the crystal because I'm healing other people with the crystal. So that's what you can do. I mean, it's a selfless act. Okay, so I'm going to share screen. And we're going to get into this. Let me go over here. Here goes my slideshow. All right, I'm going to close this little window over here. Okay, so here we are at the Crystal Brigade. Now this, if you're not familiar, this is the Vogel crystal. And he designed this crystal based off of the tree of life. The shallow short end sits in the palm of your hand. And the tip that is like a fire point, this is like a pyramid. This points outward like a wand. So basically he made a wand. And I was like, oh my, if you made that round, I bet it would be really more powerful, because he said that each of these facets, the more facets you have, the faster the charge goes through the crystal. So if this was perfectly round, just like a magic wand, guys, think about what a magic wand shape is. I was like, Marcel Vogel's only been talking about stuff that we used to have a long time ago. So this is the tip. This is the fire pyramid tip. And Marcel Vogel never equated this with pyramid stuff, but this is a scalar wave shape. And it amplifies straight out of the tip, just like the pyramids do. So the most important thing to know about a quartz crystal, and if you want to use it as a tool, is it has to be natural, and it has to maintain a line, a central axis that goes up straight through this crystal and out the tip. So it'll come up from the bottom and out that tip right there. And this is very similar to the angles of the Great Pyramid. Now, this is the shallower end. This is the female end, and this sits in the palm of your hand. And it just goes straight up that central axis and out the tip. Now, here it is again. So you have the male output, which is the extended end, and the female output. Very important to note that this is basically like a battery. So the energy is flowing from one end to the other, and that's the only way that it can go. You know, it goes zoop, and it just shoots out. That's when you're using your intentions. Now, with what they use and employ in electronics, I'm not sure if it goes both ways or not, but this amplifies the charge and it holds unlimited amounts of memory. Why aren't we using it? What's that?
If you reverse the power in a laptop or a computer, it'll explode.
Yeah. And I think that's what happened a few times with the crystals too. Crystals will actually, if you take two crystals and strike them together, they will create light. Kind of interesting. It'll create a spark. Okay, so, and here it is. He said that he was trying to figure out how to study water, to study water and crystals. And this image of the tree of life came to his mind. And so that's what got him to cut the crystal in this manner, is that, wow, it actually matches up. And it's just like the Yggdrasil tree, that matches up with the tree of life as well. So this is just a little blurb about Marcel. He was born on April 14th of 1917 and he died in 1991. He was a research scientist working at IBM in San Jose Research Center for 27 years. He's sometimes referred to as Dr. Vogel, although this title is based on an honorary degree, not a PhD. Later in his career, he became interested in various theories of quartz crystals and other occult and esoteric fields of study. The Vogel crystal type cut was created by him. So he's known for liquid crystals, magnetism, luminescence, consciousness of plants, and bringing spirituality into science. This because spirituality and science belong in one unit. Everything out here in the world was compartmentalized by all the wars and all of the destruction of knowledge around the world. We're coming back to making it merge into one again. And this is just a blurb by Marcel. Is the power of thought. We are made in the image and likeness of God. How do we find and experience this image? The discovery of this divine image in us can be initiated by observing the patterns and forms of nature. We are given the power of creative thinking. To think and bring this thought process into a visible form is a precious gift of the love of God. To develop this faculty, we must let the child in us operate free of time and space. We commonly speak of this as our imagination. It is true. It's our imagination, but in removing yourself from this limitation of time and space, we move into the infinite. We bring down into our being a touch of divine mind. This is brought into being by seeing with the mind's eye. This is very important because that's the kind of work that you use with the crystal. You use your imagination. A notebook begins the translating of this information into logical and systematic program of reduction to physical form and practice. Ideas come as a burst of light. We reach out, grasp, and learn not to be fearful that ideas will be lost. No idea is ever lost if we are patient and loving to ourselves. The real test of our being is the ability to work in time in a rational, systematic way with an idea that we've been given. Self-discipline is required in the development of your skill inventory. These skills will be required to translate each idea into a final product. In 1968, I saw Dr. Wilhelm Sturmer working at a microscope in his home. He was making pretty pictures of liquid crystal material, which he had treated and allowed to cool under the microscope. As I observed the activity of these liquid crystal materials, an idea flashed in front of my mind. These would be excellent products to be turned into liquid crystal displays for watches, flat panel TV screens, and other visual devices. When I returned to IBM, I set myself the task to bring this idea into being. First, by buying a microscope and training myself to use it. Then, by buying and synthesizing the liquid crystals and determining their purity. Finally, the evolution of the methodology of making these into visible and practical displays. This was in 1962, years ahead of its time. Look at where we are today. And it also reminds me of the Polaroid camera. Polaroid cameras, you could just take an instant image and print it out. I now have this microscope with the ancillary equipment in 1985. It's being applied to an even more exciting concept, The observing, measuring, and quantifying of the bioenergetic fields that exist both in and around a living cell. We charge our body with breath. We structure our subtle body with chargeless energetic mass, prana. With these two energies, breath and prana, we have the essential set of forces necessary for the creation of a thought form. We hold a crystal in our hand, draw in our breath, focus our mind into the crystal, and suddenly release the breath through the nostrils with intention to link. A charge transfer takes place. We occupy the space between the lattice system of the quartz crystal. This charge is equivalent to the charging of a storage battery with electricity. It can now be observed and measured by an instrument called the Omega-5 Metatronic machine. When we speak of the power of thought, it is true. Thought moves through a field we call etheric space. We must consider matter, which has formed that physical object, is now contained by time and space. But in that matter is a spaceless dimension, the interatomic spacing. As we can move an electron from its orbital shell by impinging on a crystal with a photon of radiation, which that crystal will absorb, we can cause that electron to shift to its orbital rotation and come back to a ground state. It emits a photon of light we call luminescence. The energy of the mind is focused in space and has the capacity to expand the lattice system in which it is projected, released with intention. The beauty of this concept and activity is that this information is locked in and stored with the crystal in much the same manner as one stores a magnetic domain on ferromagnetic surfaces, i.e. recording tape or magnetic recording discs. In this way, you can focus your intention on the crystal. You can then extract the data, amplify the pulse, or release it as a projected burst of etheric plasma. This set of statements is the key, the heart of the evolving technology of the use of crystals and crystal devices in transformational healing. With these devices, we can move directly into the pattern of thought, the locked emotions, and the incomplete thought forms. We can then release them so that the subject we are working with can bring their body into a state of wholeness and well-being. The resonant fundamental vibration of the crystal is cut and tuned to the vibrational activity of water. Consequently, when we build a field in the crystal with intention and thought, we transmit the information directly into the body of an individual via the structuring of the water and its salts. Salt is also crystalline, so it's very important to continue to add salt to your diet. Specific kinds, of course. We have studied the structuring of water and the resonant transfer of a charged crystal into water passed around a crystal. And it's very important to know that it is clockwise direction. By careful experimentation, we have noted the same vibration in the crystal transferred to the water itself. This change lasts for many months, and as far as we know at this time, 1985, it is a permanent change. What we have found is that both the vibration in the water and in the crystal can be erased by a bulk eraser for magnetic tape or by a focused thought, the pulling in of breath, and then the sudden release of that breath. In doing therapeutic work with the crystals, we must be cognizant that we are providing a loving field. This field can be nullified by the act of a doubtful thought. All effects will come to a halt. It is the operator's belief in himself or herself, the knowledge and assurance of what they are doing, that brings about this form of therapy. The subject must accept responsibility for their life and assume the pattern of living that this form of treatment brings about. The subject is healing her or himself. The operator is providing a loving service to enable the recipient to bring him or herself back to a state of balance and well-being. And there's Marcel Vogel. Okay, we are going to get started with using this. So based on the practices that I've done using the technique, you need to have a natural cut crystal. I have one, it has a broken end. I have many of these things. And then it has the natural tip, of course. And what you do is you take it, you put your thumb underneath the female end, and you put your forefinger on one of the facets at the top. I have a large facet right here that I usually rest my finger on. It's finger size. So it feels nice and comfortable in my hand. Then you take your other hand and you just hold the sides and just hold it steady. Now, what you're going to be doing is you're going to start breathing. The breath is the key to using this device. Right now, my crystal has a charge because my finger will stick to the surface and it doesn't want to move. It doesn't want to slide. It's almost like it has a solid friction on the surface. But in a moment when I release the memory that is stored in here, my finger will slide across the surface like silk. So that's one way to know that your crystal is charged. So right now it's sticky. Once you practice this, because in the beginning when I first started this, I was like, I don't know what I'm doing, but I just went with it. I started really learning how to use this and to use it well. And it's still teaching me how to do everything, because the feeling and the sensations and then observation when you're working with someone else, that's going to start teaching you a lot. So what I've learned from using this is that when I'm trying to release the memories, because that's really what we're doing, we're helping someone else release the memories that they've stored from activities or events or emotions in their own cells. This is all we're doing. And that stuff can cause dis-ease. It causes pain. It causes suffering, all these things. But people don't really know, especially if they're not spiritual or they're not knowledgeable about specific events, that they can actually store all this stuff in their body and this is what's causing them pain. Then, helping them release it becomes rewarding for you because you get to witness it. Now, sometimes it jumps around. Like if someone has, let's say they have like a shoulder ache or something, and you end up releasing that. Now, it may not release 100%. Sometimes it's like layers of an onion. Sometimes it's like whack-a-mole, and once you've released it from that area, it moves to a different area of their body. Like, oh, well, now it's here, and now it's there, and now it's down there. And it's like you're chasing this thing around in their body. But it needs to be released. When it gets to that point, when you're chasing this thing in circles all around their body, even back up to where it started, you can then go into the auric field of the person. So we're going to go over all of these different techniques. Are you ready, Nancy?
Yeah, I went and got a smaller crystal because that one I had was too big. I couldn't hold it. It wouldn't fit my hand. So I had to run find one that was holdable.
Yeah, okay.
Not as big as yours, but I could at least work with it.
Yeah, but that was funny. That was good spirit, Nancy. Get the biggest one you can find, Okay, so what we're going to do, just put your thumb underneath the broken end and put your finger on one of the facets on the side, not on the very tip, but on the side. Now, what I need you to do is to focus. Do not open your mouth whenever you breathe. That means exhaling or inhaling. You want to breathe only through your nose. If your nose has any sort of blockage, you can use a pranayama technique to unblock and to balance the hemispheres. And I think we'll go ahead and do that now, is practice our little breath technique to get the two hemispheres to start syncing together. So what we do is we inhale and exhale. Inhale. Exhale. Inhale. Exhale. Inhale. Exhale. Inhale. Exhale. Inhale. Exhale. Now change sides. Inhale. Exhale. Inhale. Exhale. Inhale. Exhale. Inhale. Exhale. Inhale. Exhale. One more time. Inhale. Then exhale. Okay. Now you'll start to feel your breathing becomes more steady on both sides. It's not clogged more on one side than the other. That means the two hemispheres of your brain are actually more balanced and aligned right now. And you can use these techniques much easier. So, all right. Come on in, Magic Man. We're just starting this process. Grab your crystal. We're going to put your thumb underneath on the female end, putting your finger on the side on one of the facets. Now, focusing only on the pyramid at the top, not the sides, but at this little design at the top from the 6 sides at the top. You want to focus your thoughts right there, just staring at it, and then inhale and exhale. Inhale, exhale. What we're doing is building up the electrical charge in the body. On the 3rd inhale, you're going to exhale swiftly out of your nostrils on that 3rd exhale while staring and thinking the thought of clear. Now, my thought of clear is actually a symbol, and mine is a golden rectangle, just like a pane of glass, but it is invisible. And it overlays right there on the image of the crystal. So I was like, put this image in my mind's eye, because you're going to be using your imagination. Your imagination is key to this work, along with your breath and building up the electricity and the currents inside your body. So it looks like this. You inhale, exhale, inhale, exhale, inhale. Think of your your shape. And now it becomes like silk. My finger no longer wants to stick to the surface. So again, it's building up the electrical charge, number 1. Imagining your rectangle, or just focusing on clearing it of its memory. You can think of anything clear. And then test it to see if your finger sticks to the surface. If it's just sliding, then we're going to go to the next moment, the next step, because the next step is to put the charge in and then notice how sticky it gets. If it does not get sticky, that means it's still holding a memory, and you just might have to go in and rotate it to each facet at the top, continually repeating step 1, which is to release the memory. So let's go ahead and do the process with your crystal and test it to see how slick it gets. Does your finger have any resistance? Mine is like silk. It will not stick. If it's silky, then let's go to step 2. So step 2 is going to be holding your crystal up, focusing only on the pyramid shape at the top. Inhale, and I want you to feel love and gratitude. I do love, gratitude, and image the sun. I'm imagining the sun, because the sun is the light. It's the holy light. So here we go. Now, my finger doesn't want to move across the surface. It sticks. Now it's charged. What's the sensation you guys got? Try to slide it back and forth. Is it sticking?
Yeah, I'm kind of sweating and it's not really sliding anymore.
What about you, Nancy? Oh, you're on mute, I guess.
Mine is sticking a little.
Okay, as long as there's resistance. I mean, it gets pretty sticky where it doesn't want to move. Like, you got to drag your finger across it. Almost like if you had water on the surface or something, like resistance.
Yeah, it's resisting a little.
Just a little, or pretty good? Like mine's pretty solid.
Well, pretty good, I guess. Look at that.
Okay. And how about you, Marianne?
Yeah, I'm sorry, I only just joined, but when I touched it a minute ago, it was sticky.
Mhm.
Then when I did the 3 breaths, it was like it was silky.
Mhm.
It's like, yeah, it's just
You'll know,
changed.
the more you practice, the more you'll be like, okay, this is working. No, it's not working. I have some that I'll try to release the memory on, and they just will never charge with love. So now, if you've gotten it successfully charged with love, now what you can do, you can use it on yourself. And to do that, what you're going to do is you're going to hold the crystal. You can put this in your hand, spinning it clockwise. So, if you were looking at clock face, you'd basically just be rotating it clockwise, going around, watching it spin towards the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. And you keep rotating like this. This actually starts building up the electricity inside your body and in the crystal. Now, what you want to do is you can focus on yourself. Like, you can look in the mirror if you need to, and you can imagine what you look like. And as you breathe in 3 times, what you're going to do is take a snapshot memory in your mind of what the crystal looks like in your hand. So you take that snapshot, you look at the snapshot of either the person or yourself in the mirror, what you look like, then you look back at the crystal. You're holding your breath while you take this snapshot. So it looks like this. You go inhale and exhale, inhale, exhale, building up the electrical charge in the body. On the 3rd inhale, you hold the breath. Hold the breath, take the snapshot, look at yourself or the other person, look at the crystal again, close your eyes. Now you want to imagine the crystal in your hands and release your breath as you're envisioning the image of the person. Then do your breath outwardly. Very swift, powerful breath outward through the nose. And then if there's a person, you'll ask them what they feel. If you're healing yourself, you will note any changes in your body. So again, it goes inhale, exhale. I do it 3 times. And on the 3rd time I inhale, I hold my breath. Take a screenshot of the crystal in my hand. Take a screenshot of the person or myself. Look at the crystal. Release my breath after I've closed my eyes in imagination. And then exhale powerfully that image that you've set into the crystal, and then ask, is there any difference to the person you're trying to help? It's an awesome practice because you'll start learning the whole process.
Do you have to ask the crystal? Do you have to tell the crystal that you've got an intention that you want to heal yourself or the person? The
No.
crystal just knows.
So what it is you've already charged it. So let's go from the beginning again. The beginning is you're holding your crystal and you start breathing. You breathe 3 times and you're going to release whatever memory is there. So watch this. It's sticking right here. We go. Build up the charge. 3rd time, you imagine it releasing all of the memory. And then it goes away. I usually envision a golden square shape because that, for me, I put the intention that means it's like looking at a glass pane, which is clear, and to release whatever memory is there. Gets to be silky. And then after it's silky, all you have to do, you don't have to repeat all of the breathing in 3 times. You just inhale while envisioning love, gratitude. And like I said, I envisioned the sun. So it's like this. And I feel my energy rising upwards into gratitude, because that's another aspect. You've got to use your emotions, which is part of your intention. And then the breath work, inhale, is a positive charge. The exhale is a negative charge. So when you send it out like that, it immediately just goes instantaneously through the ethers And these people can be anywhere in the world, and this technique will work. There is no time and space. So it works on a quantum level or etheric plane. So now that it's got the love intention, that's all it needs. You don't have to talk to the crystal. You don't have to do anything else, because all of this stuff comes from a scientist. Did Nancy fall asleep? Are you meditating, Nancy?
I'm dozing. I was having a quiet moment.
She's so relaxed. She's going out on a journey with the crystals. That's okay, Nancy. You can do your thing. So here we go. All right. Let's say we've already got it charged, which I do. How is yours doing, Marianne?
Yeah, it feels silky.
Okay. Then
But I'm just gonna try and do it again, the 3 breaths, and then the envisioning the sun. Now, just
it's
kind of sticky. But
feel it. Feel that sensation of love and gratitude. And boom, it gets locked in there. So what we're going to do now, you can also like amplify your own energy. You can take this and hold it just like this, horizontally, where you're actually holding onto the tips. And then what you're going to do is breathe in. You're going to inhale and exhale. Then spin it around to another side. Inhale. And then you can do it 3 times if you want. And then rotate it where the male end goes into the other hand. And then again. Then again. And again. And he said that this will actually start to give you energy. If you're feeling a little sleepy or a little low energy, you can do that technique where you're sending it up your battery cables. And then you just feel that charge. Now, there's other ways to heal people too. And for this method, I think I'm going to employ my zombie. I did it on another video because I don't have anybody here to use this on. Let me bring my zombie over. Let's see if we can revive him from the dead. I'll bring him over.
Ellen, could I ask a question?
Yes, sure.
When you were saying about the snapshot, I've taken a snapshot in your mind of the crystal, and then taken a snapshot in your mind of the person that you want to heal or yourself. Do you overlay those in your mind or anything? You overlay those 2 snapshots then whenever.
Once you go into your imagination, so you're holding your breath. Once you take the screenshot of your mind of the crystal, screenshot in your mind of one of the faces of the people or yourself, and then you exhale, releasing the breath as you envision the crystal and then the person's face. And really you can focus more, I've learned, on the person's face, especially as you're exhaling through your nose outwards to send out the charge to the person.
Perfect.
So basically what you're doing is you're linking the 2. You're linking the crystal with the image of the person. And since this is a holographic universe, that hologram goes into the crystal, into time and space, and then outwards with the intention that you've stored into the crystal.
Wonderful.
Yeah, this is very much the wave of the future right here in natural form. And I think, it's nothing less than amazing. And they quite possibly use this during Atlantis and Lemuria. So, and all this knowledge is just coming back because, we've just been scattered, smothered, and covered. Let me grab this guy. Okay, this is my friend. And his name is Winston Jeeves. Oh yeah, he's got on a mask. I dressed him up. And he's Winston Jeeves, and I actually got him when I was on I was working on the Three Stooges. So it was even before I was on Walking Dead, which was so crazy because I was on Three Stooges like 3 years or so before I went to Walking Dead. I was going to try to move the table back, but okay. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to show you this. We're going to be using the crystal. Let's just pretend like you've already charged it up with love and it's ready to go, right? So, number one, before you ever work on anyone, you have to have permission to go into their auric fields and to do the job that you want to do. So, you've asked permission, and now you want to go into this person's auric field and help them break a pattern that keeps repeating. This is the next phase that you go to. If just doing this simple one that I've shown you already, if that doesn't work to help someone with their pain, then you may have to go to this phase if they're in your presence, of course. So what we're going to do is we're going to find, there is a place, if you find the little dip in your throat here, and then take 2 fingers down, like the width of 2 fingers, just below that is where your thymus gland is. And it'll make like a hollow sound when you tap on your chest. That's the one that regulates the immune system. So with that being said, what we do is we find that on the person, it'll be 2 fingers down, and that is where you're going to be coming in with your crystal. You want to come in only about 2 inches away from the body. So you don't want to get too far in and you don't want to be too far out, because there's different areas of the auric field that you will be activating and accessing. You want to get to the one that deals with health and wellness. So somehow they figured out that it was about 2 inches off of the body where that was the most optimal place to go into. So before you can go in, though, you have to spin this as far counterclockwise as you can, because what you're going to start doing is rotating clockwise while you're 2 inches away from the person's thymus gland. And you have to get the person to cooperate with you to tell you when they feel a sensation, any sensation. It can be electric, magnetic, it can be heat, it can be just a pulse. Usually it's something weird and they'll go, I feel something, you know, and that's when you're locked in. So you're coming in, you're starting as far counterclockwise as possible. You're holding it 2 inches away. Your other hand can be behind the person so that you can start trying to feel for the field of energy that is being emitted from the crystal. And once you start feeling it, you start rotating clockwise, usually between 11 o'clock and 2 o'clock with your spinning of your crystal is when the person will go, oh, I feel something. And then once you lock in, you start breathing together. So I know this is a lot of information. And if you guys want to take notes, that's fine. If you need notes, let me know. I think I've already got this stuff typed out.
But this is recording, right?
Yes, I'm recording this so you'll be able to access this video.
Okay.
But so while you're dialing, you want to just hold your breath once you've locked into the person. You know, you just hold your breath and you're dialing this thing. And once the person goes, I feel it, that's when you go, okay, we're breathing together now. And you inhale and exhale. Inhale, exhale, building up the charge again in both of your bodies, and you're inhaling and exhaling in unison. And then on the third one, you're going to snap like a twig the energy that it's a pattern, an energy pattern that is causing a distortion in their body. So let's just say we've inhaled 3 times. We would then go and break it. And behind the person, I'm breaking it like a twig. Like if I had an invisible stick, I'm just going click. Yes. You want to break that pattern, because what you're doing is you're latching on to that person's field of energy that's causing the distortion. And once you break that pattern, you ask the person, they're like, okay, how does it feel now? And if they say it's good, then what you want to do is go back in and you want to imagine love going into the person. And at that point, you can even take the crystal on the side and press it up against that person's thymus gland while feeling a good well-being and love for the person. And that will seal that illness from coming back in. Now, there's another method too, where if the person is still feeling a distortion, you can do this, as many times as you want, but you can start to rotate that energy 2 inches away from the person. So you're alternating your back hand from your front hand, and you're going clockwise. So you're like doing this weird motion, like cranking up a thing and then breaking it if you have to. That is spiraling around that energy and grabbing onto it and then pulling it out of them when you do a snap. So I've used all these different methods, and I tell you, they work. It never ceases to amaze me how I can help people in this manner. And it's fun. Like, if you guys ever get a pain, just contact me. I'll be like, okay, let's do this. How's it feel now? But you can work with a photograph too of someone. You can just do this at any time, anywhere. Time doesn't matter. Space doesn't matter. It's just like, why aren't we doing more of this? I have no idea, but we're going to start doing that. That's why I'm here trying to spread the word that Marcel Vogel. Huh?
Could you do it? Can you do it without a photo, or do you have to have a photo? Can you just do it with like a picture of the person?
Oh yeah,
in your mind as well.
Yes, absolutely. But again, you have to have permission. That's if you try to do this without permission, most likely it will not work, because you have to have that consent. And we're not vampires, so we have to say, okay, do you want this? And I've had people that have said no. So I just go, okay, keep your pain. Some people think it's like it's witchcraft. No, it's not witchcraft. Sorry. This is the world, and these are our abilities.
I've done it before just with hands, without crystals, and had some really good successes with all kinds of pains that people were having.
Yes, because it's really us. It's not the crystal. The crystal will amplify the thoughts. That's what crystals do. They're piezoelectric, and they will amplify any intention. That's why they use these in electronics, is because it'll amplify the electricity. It does all kinds of interesting things. But, I feel like this is just solidified water. Like, the many phases of water are solid, liquid. They call it gas. I don't even think that's a gas, honestly. I think we're in water right now. And it's just a different type of water that we can't really see, and we don't really feel the density of it. So
unless you go to Florida when the humidity's up, you can feel it. I just came back there. There you can feel it.
Yeah, you can cut it with a knife. Believe me, I lived in Florida once upon a time. So, but hey, he noticed some different things about the different colored crystals as well. I'm going to get Jeeves out of here. Thank you, Jeeves. I'm going to get you back over where you were. Say bye to Jeeves.
Thank you, Jeeves.
So, the smoky quartz, very interesting information from Marcel Vogel. Smoky quartz has X-ray material in it. He said that you can remove damage that people have ensued from X-rays, because apparently your body never really is free of the X-rays when you go to like the hospital or the dentist or whatever, that your body stores X-rays. And he said that this little smoky thing will actually remove that radiation from your body. And then he mentioned something about the amethyst, which I have here. I'll have to go back through his videos again. But he said each color that is naturally formed of the earth actually has a specific frequency that will help with a specific element, an ailment or this, that, and the other. But the quartz, the clear quartz, is one that will pretty much do it all. He's like, you don't need any other stone to meditate with or anything like that. Like, everybody's talking about, oh, you need this stone, you need jade, or you need this, that, or the other. He's like, no, the stones don't do anything that this can do. He's tried to do all kinds of things in the lab. So what I've done is I've created all kinds of things. I created this because this one was a little bit longer and skinnier. I was like, well, that'll be perfect for using in the kitchen. So I take this, and it's on a copper wire. It looks brown now because it's all tarnished, but it will amplify the water. It'll restructure water. And to do that, you do the same thing. You just take the crystal and do the 3 breaths. And the last breath, you imagine it going free of its memory. And then you charge it again with love and positive intentions. Then I take this and I drop it in a funnel. And I'll get my water. I usually go to Indian Springs, which I get the water right out of the ground. And I put it in glass containers, but I'll just spin this, spiral it clockwise around the crystal, and it restructures the water to make sure there's no impurities. They did this with about over 400,000 gallons of wine throughout the years and made a poor quality wine into a fine wine. Yes, you can do this. But what they did is they had a box, and they had one of those big crystals like what you have there, Nancy. That big crystal. They have an image of a crystal that's probably, almost a foot long or so. They mounted it in a box, and they had a hose, a clear hose that was spiraled around the crystal 10 times. And all they did was have a funnel at the top, and then had, I guess, a little catch thing at the bottom. And they pour the wine through after the crystal is charged. It went round clockwise 10 times and restructured the wine into a fine wine. And I was like, wow, that's a good idea.
So we can go get a jug at the grocery and have a great Pinot Noir before we get through.
Oh, right. You can go get the cheapest junk for 50 cents. And then get your crystal out and pour it around and then start sampling. I mean, it's an experiment, right? It's something to
Yeah, we stay sober long enough to see how it goes.
No, they must have had a lot of parties after work or something, or maybe at work. Who knows?
Boy, wouldn't college kids love to know that?
I know, right? Like
maybe we shouldn't share some of these secrets.
Well, I mean, the thing is, you can just like rebrand it for your own purpose, buy it cheap and sell it high. That's so ridiculous.
On that note, I have to leave you for a little bit. If you're still going, I'll come back on. Otherwise, I'll have to watch it. I love this program. Okay, I'll see you in a while.
Okay, bye, Nancy.
Bye.
Yeah, that's funny. So I make all kinds of things. I make implements. I found a piece of copper, and I was like, well, I'm just gonna make a wand. And this is a citrine. So you can do all kinds of stuff, but you got to make sure your copper is legitimate, because they sell fake copper, of course, at the art stores and stuff. Home Depot, I believe, does have real copper implements. I'm always playing around with all kinds of stuff and doing experiments and stuff. I do have my fake Marcel Vogel, and I've tried to kind of work with it, with the breath. And I'm like, I don't think it really works, but I think I'll have to just keep experimenting to try to release any memory and see if I can get this to work. If I can get it to work, that would be amazing, but I really am not banking on it, because the problem with this, you don't know where the C-axis is going. The C-axis could be going, at an angle or out the side. And it's important to maintain that straight line from tip to tip. And that's the difference. Now, the people who actually cut these for Marcel Vogel, they knew this. That's why it's important. You can get a fake, and then you've spent, hundreds of dollars online, and you won't know because you can't see the C axis, the central axis. So if you get one from Drew Towsley has Luminary Studios, and he is legitimate. He was one of the cutters that worked with Marcel Vogel. Marcel taught him how to cut the crystals. So he has a website called luminarystudios.com. And on his website, he lists the people to buy the Vogel crystals from. And there's only those companies. They don't sell them to anybody else, but there's a lot of fakes coming out of China and other places so that people can profiteer off of the name, the title, Vogel Crystal. Well, so some of the other things that I want to give you a suggestion with, and this is kind of fun too. These are fun experiments. I have a couple of dowsing rods, and these I had gotten from like Barnes and Noble in a little dowsing kit years ago. It has like a little copper ring. You don't have to get anything fancy. You can take a metal coat hanger and cut it to this shape, where all you need is the L shape. You don't even need like these circle tips and stuff. They only did that for safety's sake because they are selling these to the public, As long as you don't poke your eye out, you'll be fine. So what you want to do with these, I'm going to stand up for this. You can, with your mind and your intention, go out into nature and say, you know what? I want to help nature. I want to find the places on Earth that need to be healed. Any energy point around on Earth that needs to be healed. And this may take you a little while to kind of get used to the feeling that these things have. So what I found with mine is that my right side will wander. It'll like tick-tock back and forth while I'm walking. It'll just kind of, it just sways. The left one is guiding me. So I've learned to follow the left. And then when I get to a spot, these things will go whoop and they'll cross. And I'm like, okay, let me step back away and make sure that they're not, it's not a false reading. So I'll step away and I'll walk around in a circle and I'll come back to the spot and they'll go whoop. And I'm like, okay, there's my spot. I'll put these away. I'll take out my crystal and I'll say, okay, my intention is to clear this area. So I usually take off my shoes because I want to connect myself to the earth and I want to become a crystal in myself. And so I become a channel for light that I draw down with my imagination. I just say, okay, I'm going to use the light from above to come through me and then go down, imagining it anchoring down deep into the earth, creating an actual anchor arrow shape and locking into place, and then channeling that love and healing energy down into the earth. Then it only takes about 7 seconds or so. Then I'll grab my little dowsing rods and I'll walk around and try to come back over that same area. And I've had 100% success that they do not cross again. This is just something that, again, you'll have to learn to feel what your rods are telling you and how to use them. You want to try to hold them straight, so because if you lean back or forward, they're going to start moving on, in the direction of gravity. So you'll just have to feel it out, practice with some rods. If you want to heal earth energy grids and stuff, you can just walk around and find them that way. Another way to dowse is with a pendulum, and this is a Merkaba, and this is crystal. So this little guy, you can also put that intention out, and what this will do is when you encounter a negative field of energy, it will start to spin counterclockwise, kind of like it's doing now. But it's I'm not moving it, but it's started moving counterclockwise. And then what you want to do is envision the light again, clearing everything, and then watch as it starts to move clockwise. And this hasn't been as much successful as the rods. The rods I really can work and operate very well. I feel like they are spot on 100% of the time. The pendulum sometimes is kind of faulty for me. For some people, it works great and they can just figure that out. You know, they're like, oh no, it works great for me. I don't know. Maybe it's just me. Another thing that I have, and this is kind of interesting. I went to Home Depot and I found these little test tube things. I mean, it's sealed at the bottom. And I was like, oh, what can I do with that? You know, I'm like, it's copper, real copper, and it comes, you can buy the little cap separate. So what I've done is I've created like a little energy wand. I took some sand from the beach and I put it in 2 of these actually, and I filled it up about 2/3 of the way, and then I filled the rest up with water. And I use this sometimes and I'll stir clockwise in my drink or whatever. I mean, these are just the things that I do because copper is very good for us. And sometimes we're deficient. You can tell if you have a copper deficiency if your pigment in your skin starts to disappear and you become more pale. I have a book that tells you all about the different signs on the body, you know, what to look for when you have these deficiencies. So that's just something else. But the sand, again, is crystalline. What can you do with sand? A lot. Apparently, Wilhelm Reich, if you guys aren't familiar, he was doing some experiments with copper pipes and sand and metals. And he learned that you can actually make a thing called organite. So it's basically like a mountain. If you think about how a mountain is made, it's got layers of sand and metals and rocks and stones and all this other stuff. And that's why it creates beautiful weather patterns and stuff, you know, while it amplifies in its pyramid shape. I mean, all this stuff is nature can teach us everything we need to know to heal things, but we're not paying attention because we're too fascinated by the creations that are out in the world. Well, who's making the creations? So far, it's been nothing but darkness that keeps, you know, planting seeds for the new trail for people to follow into like a misleading misconception. That's what I see so far. But yeah, do you guys want to practice with your crystals then? Do y'all have any pains or any kind of a headache or maybe aches or body aches or?
I got some nerve damage.
So
right here.
How long has that been there?
I would say 2 months, because I was riding a scooter and the vibration, because I have some, they did like an MRI and they said something at this level is messed up and I have like lower level, but this right now is like really bothering me. I mean, it's not bothering me, but it's stopping me from being like as strong as I, you know. It's annoying because I can't do things with that arm anymore.
It sounds like it is a stored memory, you know, that's stored in the body because your body is water. So it's going to get stored and stuck in the cells. And it causes a distortion in the field of energy that you're emitting from your body. So I'm going to stand up for this then, and I'm going to see what I can do. Now, I do not say that it guarantees results, but I tell you, most of the time this works. And I'll tell you this much too. So sometimes it takes a little time for it to release. Like I can open the dam basically by pulling a cork. It may be cork size and just it'll start healing and all of a sudden it'll be gone. Or it may take several weeks. Most of the time with the people that I work with, you know, my mom and family members, friends and stuff, it's usually instantaneous. But I have a friend, she was suffering for years and no doctor could help her. Nothing, you know, was working. And this was her lower back. I released it and she goes, She's like, oh my God. She's like, it's gone. And I was like, okay, cool. So it just really depends. I haven't figured out why sometimes it doesn't do instant work, but we can always try because it's free, right? So here we go. I'm going to go ahead and release this charge. And if anybody else wants to join in, maybe as we do it all at the same time towards his image, then, maybe it'll work even better that way. So I'm going to go ahead and release the memory on mine. Nice and slick. Okay, nice and sticky. All right. Is everybody ready? You want to try this? Get ready. We're about to send you a big wave. All right. Remember now, on the third inhale, we hold the breath, take the image, close your eyes, imagine the crystal in front of you, imagine his image overlaid, release your breath with the thought of his image. And then you exhale again and exhale it out in a very sharp manner. So here we go. Inhaling. All right. How's your arm feel? Is it still there?
Yeah, it's not painful. It just kind of move up to my neck.
See,
like,
I told you.
like it kind of went to my neck now. Like it was really bothering me just a couple seconds ago, but now it's kind of like it's not there, but it's just a little twitch in my neck now.
It's a whack-a-mole. So here we go. We're gonna do it again. We're chasing it like with a broom and a mouse. Here we go. How's it feel now?
Yeah, I can move it.
Still got some
Little twitch when I get back there, but before I couldn't even lift up my arm that much.
Well, we can keep doing it,
It's a good improvement.
It
was really hurting. Now it's like it just twinges a little bit.
It's like layers of an onion. You peel that one and then okay, we got to do it until it's gone. But let me know if it goes away completely or whatever eventually, because like I said, it'll keep going out. So what we can do in a moment, I'm going to do it a third time. And once I do it this third time, what I'm going to do is put the love into your cells so that way it fills it up and locks out that distortion. So here we go. I'm going to do it one more time. I'm going to release it. And anybody can follow along if you want. Okay. How's that feel now?
Definite improvement. I mean,
okay, so all I'm going to do now.
I have way more range than what I had.
Well, now I'm going to release what's here because it's also taken your distortion and put it in there. So I'm going to release this, charge it with love, and then imagine I'm going to exhale the love into your cells. So this is what it looks like. I'm just going to release this memory. Okay. How's it feel now? I'm trying to lock out the distortion.
Yeah, it's not twingy at all. It's more like it's kind of letting like if you kind of exercise hard and then you kind of relax and that kind of warm, stretchy feeling kind of.
Well, like I said, you can do this for yourself too. I did it when I got in a car accident and I had so much pain, from the whiplash. I was like, let me just try this. So I did the thing, charge it with love, and I amplified it with my hand. And I did this thing where you exhale and exhale. And then I just went, as I was imagining myself, and man, it just went, boop, and it was gone. I was like, okay, I guess that works. I was like, people need to know about this. You don't need aspirin and Tylenol and stuff. Just get one of these.
Do you ever use like music frequencies as well? Because I've healed myself with those, like shamanic drumming, and
Oh yeah. I
that
mean,
works as well. And
it's all frequencies, everything is frequency based. I like the crystals. It's kind of fun, because
yeah,
it's like, oh, this is it's like my toy. I carry this around in my purse everywhere I go. And when somebody is hurting around me, I'm like, oh, hey, I got something for you. I did this to non-believers, like people that didn't know nothing down in Florida when I visited my friend. And I was like, can I use this? And the guy was like, sure, whatever. And I said, I was like, okay, how's it feel? He goes, he starts looking at his wife. He's like, how did you do that? I was like, quantum physics. You just tell people quantum physics and they're like, okay. They don't think it's witchcraft, It's not witchcraft though. So, I just think it's funny. We gotta help people evolve in their consciousness. Because I tell you, I live in the Bible Belt, and man, these people. I was wearing a wizard hat today. I was wearing like a Gandalf hat, looks kind of like a witch hat, but it's gray. It's Gandalf the Gray's hat, I'm wearing this thing around my small town. This woman that was on the Arts Council, she's like in the coffee shop and she's looking at me as she's going outside. I'm like, I can read her mind. These poor people, they're just like, witch. They go into my friend's soap store and she's got crystals and stones and stuff, She said she's had customers come in and they look at the crystals, look at her and go, you're a witch, and they leave. Like, that's so ugly. But that's the mentality in my town. I'm telling you, like, these people need help. So I guess that's why I'm here in this tiny town, is to try to help people see that, it's not so bad, that they've just been mind controlled. Do you guys have any questions? It's too bad that we're not in like a physical group where we could sit there and actually do the practices and stuff, especially this one where you get more physical with the person. Because that one's pretty serious. Like, I helped somebody had been in some sort of accident or something. And she was just like, I am in pain, and I broke the pattern. And she still felt some pain, but within 15 minutes, she came running over to me because we were at like a person's house. She was like, oh my gosh, it's gone. She's like, oh my God, thank you. I was like, I didn't do it. I'm like, I just helped kind of open up the flow of energy. I don't see myself as the healer. It's more like, let's just break a pattern that has been stored in the water. And that's it. So, do you guys have any questions?
yeah. Do you know the pointed like towers, like tower crystals? They look like the ones with the pointy ends. So are they like will they genuinely work as well? They're not, because like the polished round ones, they don't really do anything. When a crystal's been like polished, it stops it working.
Yeah, so what it is, it's not really that it stops it from working. What they do is they'll take a chunk of quartz. The thing that makes this work is the central axis. It's the integrity of the crystal that must be maintained. If they just take a chunk of quartz and they start cutting it down to make it look like a crystal shape, you don't know where the C-axis is anymore. The part that works is this line, this invisible line you can't see. Crystals form in spiral patterns, either clockwise or counterclockwise. And they usually have a beginning point somewhere in there in the middle. And then as they spiral in their growth, they will eventually push together and form this matrix that's inside of it that has a central energy point. There's a straight line from the tip to the end. And they're all spiraling around that one patterned point, that just like a corkscrew, if you had like a line in the middle, like a staircase that also goes up, has a central pole. Just imagine the quartz is basically that. Now, these quartz crystals, they evolve they'll be the sugary looking crystal. And then over time, they all compress to form those bigger ones. And they eventually get clear on the inside. So it's amazing. It's a living consciousness. That's what also has to be there to make these things work. Man-made crystals that are formed in labs, grown in labs, they do not work because they don't have the earth consciousness in them. So there's a lot of things that you can't use. If you get a natural crystal that has all of that whitishness, these are called inclusions, all the white inside there. This is a naturally formed crystal and it will work. Now, I do have some naturally formed crystals that I can still not get the memory to release, because when I try to charge it, it won't get sticky. So it takes me, repeating the cycle of release, 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 and I'm going around to every facet, doing the process of releasing, and then trying to get it to hold a charge. There are still some that I cannot get to hold a charge. I do not know why. They're holding and clinging on to some memory. So another thing that may happen is that once my consciousness has been connected to a crystal, it's going to lock in there, and it's not going to let anyone else remove the memory. I have to go in, because I let someone borrow my crystal, like play around with it just to try the technique. I had to get her to come back over, release the crystal before it would let me in to charge it again. And I was so upset. I was like, no. I was like, I gotta have my crystal. This is the one I take with me everywhere. So just know that. I mean, it gets locked and that's it. No entry. I'm like, that's actually a safety feature. That may be how they use some of these UFOs, because I've heard some of the UFOs are connected to the person's DNA, to their consciousness. And you can't go in and hijack it, It's like, well, it's theirs, not yours. Do y'all have any questions or anything? Any stories to share? Ideas, suggestions? Well, that's pretty much it. I mean, that's it in a nutshell. There's a lot of other information. I'm going to be going back over Marcel's videos because, there's gems of knowledge in each of his videos. And if you go through all of them, you'll just be like, wow, this is crazy. Because he shares like experiences with other scientists and things. And as I said in the beginning, he was working with the consciousness of plants before he was working with the crystals. And before the consciousness of plants, he was working with bioluminescence. So he came up with a lot of the different paint colors and things that we use, like bioluminescent paints and, materials and things. And how he got involved with the crystals and the consciousness, he went to India and he studied under a guru with the breath work, with pranayama and kundalini yoga and transcendental meditation and stuff. And then he brought that knowledge into the lab. And because he had a lab, he had all this equipment that he could use to verify whether things worked or not. And that's how he found out that putting the crystals in the sunlight, putting them in the moonlight, washing them with spring water or leaving, it was all bunk. He's like, none of that stuff is true. So when people are telling you, oh, I'm going to charge my crystals in the sun or the moon or the stars, what, you're like, no. It's actually been proven that does nothing. And it's
what about when they say you can wash them with like Himalayan salt or like bury them in salt? That doesn't work either.
It does nothing for them. It only does something for you, your mind, That's why Marcel stated in one of his videos, he said, all of the information that's been put into books needs to be rewritten because it's all junk. He said that you know, the stuff that he found in a lab, because he tested them from all those theories. And he said none of that stuff did anything.
Has
So
he got, are there any videos of him on YouTube?
yes,
still?
all over. So here's the gist though. With any vital information that is good, they hide the information. Let me tell you what they did. They have plastered all over YouTube a band called Marcel Vogel. So what you want to include is Marcel Vogel crystals.
Right.
And look at all of the different videos where he's teaching people. He went around the world to different conferences and things and small groups and stuff. And he would just go teach people what he knew. And so there are people that have the knowledge. Let me tell you how ugly society is, though. He mentioned in one of his videos that he intended to write a book called Crystal Therapeutics. And this woman, who is obviously from one of those other countries, put out a book called Crystal Therapeutics, and it's a bunch of bunk. And I was so angry. I bought this book, and I was like, I need to contact this woman and give her a piece of my mind, because she wanted to get the whole thing out. And she puts a little bit of things that he said, but it's all that junk, you know, about the crystal stuff that needs to be thrown out that she's put in the book. And I'm like, this is just ugly. You know, I that's what people do though. When you're honest and you're just sharing information, somebody that's hearing you is going to go, I'm just going to go write a book real quick and call it that so that he won't be able to do it. And the man was awesome. I just wish I could have met him. You know, him and Jordan Maxwell were amazing people.
Yeah.
And I've thought about making a t-shirt with like the world's greatest heroes and actually have the real faces of people who have been heroes. Like, you know, Nikola Tesla, yeah, you know, and Marcel Vogel and Dr. Masaru Emoto. All these people are the heroes.
Like never heard of them. I mean, most people, you know.
Yeah, I mean, but
names.
but it will help people go, oh, who's that? You know, like who's that person? And then you start talking about them and start educating people on who is truly valuable in this world. Yeah. Because Marcel Vogel gave us the LCDs that we use today. And
everything has it. That guy's like fundamental in electronics. It's like ridiculous. Just like Tesla, like I never heard of them, and then they're like, without Tesla, there wouldn't be AC.
Yeah.
Yes.
AC, like the whole thing would just not work. And then when you see that he would have made, if they would have funded him or not destroyed him, we could have all had wireless energy worldwide and for free.
Yeah.
Like your stupid electric car ain't squat, man. Like what Tesla would have done would have been just. We would have been in space already, basically. I mean, spiritually and physically.
Well, we wouldn't be on this system. We had free energy in the 1700s. It's up to us now to go and find that information and bring it back. I believe.
What's the morality too? You need, like you said, if you don't have the energy of love, then like, I mean, you might have technologically prowess. You can destroy planets or what, but I mean, in the end, like, what is the point of that? There's no point there. I mean.
Yeah.
So, you know, through divine providence, you're not going to get anywhere. You're going to be bound to the Dark Lord or whatever you made a contract with to get that.
Yeah, I know. Right?
I'd rather be free. So no matter what happens, I'm going to be free.
Yeah. So, well, I hope you guys have learned something. Do y'all have any more questions or anything? Y'all want to do any of the practice again?
That was fabulous. Thank you very, very much, Helen.
Oh yeah, thanks for healing.
You're welcome. Yeah, how's your shoulder now?
I'm still feeling it. I'm trying to like, I can't really ask questions because I'm just like feeling right now.
Maybe in the morning you'll feel like it's all, the pain's gone.
No, it's definitely changed, you know. And it was really bothering me all, like usually when I get injured, it only happens for like a month I can't even move the whole arm. It's just numb. And now it's like, it took more months to heal. So it's like, definitely, thanks,
You're welcome. Yeah, you can do this to anybody. Once you just practice, don't be afraid to practice. Don't think you're going to do something wrong, because you can't really do anything wrong. You're using love frequency. So it's like, okay, if I fumble, then sorry, I'm just learning. I'm still learning, like I said. And I would like to get a genuine Marcel Vogel crystal. But like I said, they start at $750 for that size. They're this small. This is about 3 inches, maybe 2.5. I don't know. And yeah, they look just like that, and they're $750. I'm like, whoa! I'm like, I have to save up for that. And the original Marcel Vogels that you'll see in his videos, those things are worth like $40,000 or more now, because he's no longer with us. So they're really expensive. I know somebody that has 3 of them, and she was gifted those because she said that she was in his lab and he was going to throw them away, and she's like, can I have those? And he gave them to her because he said that they weren't perfect. They had like flaws and inclusions on he liked the clear ones, but you can use the inclusions. They don't hurt the whole process. Yeah, good stuff only. All right, well, thanks y'all for coming.
Thank you.
Thank you.
We'll
Thanks
see
for
you
having
guys
us.
soon.
Bye.
Definitely.
Bye.